When making my trailer, I used Todorov's theory to show the different stages of the narrative: equilibrium, disruption, recognition, attempt to repair, and a new equilibrium. The first four of these stages are typically seen in supernatural horror trailers such as Carrie. However, since trailers are supposed to be teasers to draw the audience in, the final stage of Todorov's theory is rarely, if ever, shown, which is another convention I have followed. The opening sequence of my trailer shows the equilibrium stage of the narrative. These scenes last 11 seconds in total, and the audience are given expositional details about the main character, Arya, through voiceovers and a trip to the graveyard. It is typical of horror trailers to only show a short extract of any kind of equilibrium, which is demonstrated by the Paranormal Activity trailer. The equilibrium sequence in my trailer fades to black, and a short sequence depicting the disruption stage of Todorov's theory is shown, which, in my trailer, is a girl's murder by an unknown assailant who drops a white rose onto the body. I decided to keep the sequence short so as not to give too much away about the narrative and keep an enigmatic edge. Following this, the recognition stage of Todorov's theory is shown through the audio of a newscast reporting on the murder.
At the scene of the murder, no weapons were recovered. All the killer left was a single white rose.
Using a figure of authority to recognise the disruption is typical of supernatural horrors, as seen through the hotel manager telling the protagonist in 1408 that the room is haunted.
Deaths in 1408. 56. No one's ever lasted more than an hour.
The attempt to repair stage is shown through my main character and her two friends talking about the murder, which would lead the audience to think they might be planning to solve the murder themselves. The attempt to repair stage in the trailer for Let Me In is also illustrated through conversation, as the female character is heard saying, "I love you." This shows that I'm using conventions. My trailer does not show the new equilibrium stage of the narrative. I instead decided to end my trailer with a montage, which is extremely conventional of supernatural horrors. This can again be seen in the trailer for Let Me In.
There's a whole lot more than just what's been going on around here. This goes way back, other states, other cities.
When looking at Altman's genre theory, I can see that I have used many semantic and syntactic elements. For example, when the first character seen in the trailer, Arya, appears on screen, she is wearing all dark colours which connotes death, a typical theme and semantic element in horror films. This can also be backed up by the male protagonist in Deliver Us from Evil, as he too is wearing dark colours when he is first seen. Arya is then seen in the graveyard, a conventional setting for supernatural horrors, as seen in Pet Sematary. This also acts as a narrative clue, as spiritual possession is a typical story and syntactic element for a film in this subgenre. In the montage, a girl is seen spitting blood into a sink and a bloody hand is seen at the end. It is very typical to see blood in slasher trailers, but not so much in supernatural trailers, so I feel I have developed this semantic element for my own genre. The shot of Arya in the mirror that can be seen in the montage is another narrative clue, as it suggests that Arya has a split personality. I use the institutional conventions seen in most supernatural horror films by starting my trailer with a green screen, as seen in Oculus, and ending with a bidding block. I believed it was important to follow this convention, as the audience would already be familiar with it. This convention also helps to create a fixed start and ending for my trailer. I kept my bidding block in the conventional steel tongs font to create links back to my ancillary texts. This typography also makes clear that the audience are seeing the film's credits. I used the company's MGM and Screen Gems in my trailer, both of which can be seen in existing trailers. Deliver Us from Evil and Carrie feature Screen Gems, while 1408 features MGM. This shows these institutions are mainstream choices for the genre. By starting my trailer with a shot of my main character's feet, this already represents her as enigmatic and possibly lonely, as no one surrounds her. This can also be seen in a shot in the Carrie trailer, where Carrie is walking around school halls alone. Arya is then seen crouching next to a grave, which is filmed at a slightly high angle, meaning the audience are looking down on her. This represents her as weak and helpless. When the first murder victim, Rosie, is seen, she does not fill the frame, showing her to also be weak. This is a typical character role and representation. However, when Rosie's dead body is seen, she dominates the frame through a bird's eye shot, suggesting that her death is extremely important in carrying the narrative. However, the bird's eye shot means the audience are looking down on her from the highest point, showing her to be even weaker than previously and a very sympathetic character. I used a series of medium close-ups during the conversation between Arya, Chloe and Juliet, as it is extremely conventional. I did this to show their reactions to what was being said, and to make the audience see how distant Arya is becoming. Like in Paranormal Activity, I changed the usual masculine representation of males, by having the only male character seen as a dead body. However, I also showed a male character in an authoritative position, as the news reporter heard talking as male.
At the scene of the murder, no weapons were recovered. All the killer left was a single white rose.
In the montage, a shot of Arya wandering through the woods is shown. In this sequence, Arya can be seen between two tree branches. Due to this, she looks incredibly small in the frame and looks as though she is trapped. This framing could convey to the audience that, at this stage in the narrative, Arya is feeling very fragile. I use a cinematography convention of tracking my protagonist's movements in many shots in my trailer. Stereotypically, supernatural horrors strive to emulate real situations.
Windows are locked, doors are locked, the alarm is on. Hearing a weird sound.
Something's here. I feel it breathing on me.
So using techniques such as pans and tilts aids this idea, as these camera movements can often mirror a person's movements. Purposely, I did not use either of these cinematography techniques, as when writing the treatment for my film, I know I did not want the element of realism to be a big theme in my trailer, showing I'm challenging conventions. However, using tracking shots to follow my protagonist's movements benefited my trailer greatly. For example, in the penultimate sequence of the trailer, Arya is seen running down some stairs. The camera follows her movements from a high angle, which makes the audience feel like they are standing on the stairs watching her, making them feel involved in the trailer. Tracking shots can also be seen in the Let Me In trailer, showing I'm using conventions. I use 3 captions within my trailer, all in the same colour and font as the text on my poster and website. This helps in creating a clear house style and is very conventional of supernatural horror films. I added a video filter to these captions called Bad TV. This gives the effect of the text looking shaky and out of focus. I chose this effect to disorientate the audience, which is conventional of films in the genre, for example, Paranormal Activity. These captions are on screen for just over 1 second each, which is again typical of supernatural horror trailers. However, I challenged conventions of the genre by not having any pull quotes in my trailer. However, this is something realist movies typically have as a selling point, so I did not think it would benefit my trailer. The last 2 shots in my trailer are the film's name and billing block. The title has the same effect as the other captions, however, I made this piece of text bigger to show its importance. I decided not to put a video filter on the billing block, which again is conventional, and is seen in Deliver Us from Evil. My trailer frequently demonstrates cut and fade edits, as well as ending in a montage that lasts 21 seconds. Cuts are conventional for any kind of film, so are essential for making my trailer accessible and recognisable for my target audience. This shows I had used conventions. Fades are also typical for my genre of film, as they add an air of mystery to the preceding scenes. I again used the convention of having a montage at the end of my trailer to create many narrative enigmas. This can also be seen at the end of the Let Me In trailer.
There's a whole lot more than just what's been going on around here. This goes way back, other states, other cities.
I have to go away.
This editing was very fast paced, and I selected an appropriate soundtrack to accompany this to get the right response from my target audience. I feel this montage benefits my trailer hugely, as it represents the height of tension in the narrative. The soundtrack used over my montage is very conventional, as the same can be seen in trailers such as the one for 2013's Carrie.
Your king and queen are...
I use the soundtrack throughout my trailer, starting slow and fairly emotional when Arya is informing the audience about her backstory. This fades out and is replaced with a more ambient soundtrack.
I wonder if we know who did it. I don't think she had any enemies. But that white rose, that means something to you, doesn't it, Arya?
I decided to keep the soundtrack running the majority of the way through the trailer to avoid losing the atmosphere needed in a supernatural horror trailer. Other sound conventions I used are non-diegetic SFX, dialogue narration, and
My name is Arya Black.
ambient music over the middle and final sections of the trailer. I added a heartbeat SFX over the Screen Gems clip at the beginning of the trailer. As if you're leaving the sequence silent would have felt out of place and unprofessional. Dialogue runs throughout my trailer and is essential in giving narrative clues and hooking the audience. The narration heard is spoken by Arya, the protagonist. I felt Arya would be the most favourable character to choose for voiceovers, as because she is the main character, the audience would want to hear about her the most. In many existing trailers I looked at, including 1408, the narration is spoken by an unknown character, so I am seen to be developing this convention.
When Mike Enslin lost his daughter, the afterlife became his obsession.